Vamos a comenzar. ¿Cómo están? Espero que estén todos muy bien, cuidándose y tomando todas las medidas de protección que requiere esta pandemia. Para los que no me conocen, mi nombre es María Jesús Silva, periodista a cargo de las comunicaciones y las actividades de extensión del Instituto de Humanidades de la Facultad de Gobierno. El conversatorio de hoy será en inglés. Sin embargo, quienes nos ven por Zoom pueden seleccionar la opción Escuchar en español, que aparece en el globo terráqueo que está en la barrita de herramientas de Zoom. De más está decir que todas sus preguntas las deben realizar en el apartado Preguntas y Respuestas, que encuentran también en la barra de Zoom. Esta tarde hablaremos de un episodio que marcó Europa, el brutal exterminio judío desarrollado por los nazis durante la Segunda Guerra Mundial. Nuestro director, Guido Larsson, dará una breve explicación, un breve contexto para situarnos en la época y el lugar, y luego vamos a comenzar, nuestro conversatorio. En esta oportunidad nos acompañará el padre Patrick Dubois, fundador de la organización humanitaria Yad Unum, espero haberlo pronunciado bien, que tiene como objetivo sensibilizar y comprender el Holocausto. También es profesor de la Universidad de Georgetown en Estados Unidos. Y compartiendo el rol de panelista estará Karen Kotner, periodista de la Universidad Católica de Chile y miembro del directorio del Centro Memoria Viva. En nombre del instituto, espero que sea un espacio de gran aprendizaje. Dejo con ustedes a Guido, Karen y Patrick.
Muchas gracias, María Jesús. Como mencionó María Jesús, este conversatorio se va a desarrollar en inglés. Esa es la razón por la que también va a haber un cambio más o menos brusco en el idioma. I would like to welcome everybody to this conversation and reflection on a fundamental episode in our history, the Holocaust. My name is Guido Larsson, and I'm the director of the Instituto Humanidades, the Humanities Institute of the Universidad del Desarrollo. And to talk about the different dimensions of this dark moment in human civilizational history, we have the privilege of having with us an expert who has not only been involved in the investigation and study of this episode, but has also collaborated from an activist position in the collection of testimonies from victims and the identification of extermination sites. This is why I would like to welcome Patrick Dubois. Father Dubois is a professor at Georgetown University, as Maria Jesus said, and president of Yad Unum, a humanitarian organization founded in 2004 and dedicated to the identification and commemoration of sites of mass execution of Jews and Roma in Eastern Europe during the Second World War. He's the author of the book, The Holocaust by Bullets, a priest's journey to uncover the truth behind the murder of 1.5 million Jews, winner of the National Jewish Book Award, and the recently released book, The Fabric of Terrorists, Into the Secret of Daesh, based on his investigation of the Yazidi genocide in Iraq. Thank you, Father Dubois, for being with us.
Thank you.
I would also like to introduce Karen Kotner. Karen, as Maria Jesus said, is a board member of the Memoria Viva Center and a journalist from the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile. Memoria Viva works to keep alive the legacy of refugees and survivors of the Showa who had escaped Europe as a result of Nazi persecution, settling in Chile. Thank you, Karen, for participating in this important event. We will also like to thank a few people and institutions which collaborated with us in the organization of this activity, the Holocaust Museum of Guatemala, the Jewish Community of Chile, Marco Gonzalez, Director of Yad Unum, and Carolina Brodsky, Executive Director of Memoria Viva. Thank you all for making this possible. I would like to begin, Father Dubois, by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself. What are your areas of studies, and how do you become a known scholar of the Holocaust?
First, good evening. I'm in Paris in the middle of the night and very happy to join you, the community of Chile, and the different people that you mentioned. I am very grateful. So First, it began by a family story. My grandpa was deported in July 42 in Ukraine, and he didn't want to say anything. And one day he said outside the camp was worse than a camp. And finally, I went to that village, to Rabarovska, and with Marco Gonzalez, who is the director of Yarad, my organization today. It was a long time ago, 20 years ago. Nobody wanted to speak. When we asked, we knew that in that village, they shot 18,000 Jews and 25,000 Soviet prisoners, plus an unknown number of gypsy, but nobody wanted to speak. And so we built a memorial for the French, and it took me 5 years to find the first mass grave with 20 witnesses, neighbors, not Jews, Ukrainian, were present at the killing and said what they saw. You know, I could have come back in France and say, oh, I understand now, my grandpa saw the killing of the Jews, the shooting. But when I came back to the car, the chief of the village told me, Patrick, what I did for one village, I can do for 100 village. And so here began the story. Here my life changed in one day. I went to Paris. I met Cardinal Lustiger, was Jew by family. He knew the story because his family has been shot the same way in Poland. I went to New York. I met Israel Singer from the World Jewish Congress, and we built this organization, Yachad Inunum, together in Hebrew and in Latin. At the beginning, it was very simple. It was Marco Gonzalez, Patrice, and me. We began from scratch. And slowly, we discovered that there were mass graves in every village and that the people were ready to speak. So now we have filmed 8,000 people who saw the killing, who are not Jews, they are not victims, they are not killers, they are the neighbors. And so, and we collect the evidence, I would say, of each killing. And it's like that we began with my team, specialist of the killing by shootings. It's why also now I work in Iraq, we work in Guatemala, we work in France to investigate about the actual shootings too, because it's the same story.
Karen?
Thank you, Father Duba. For me, it's an honor to be with you tonight, and I'm very grateful for la Universidad del Desarrollo, la Comunidad Judía de Chile, in Yahad in Nahum, that made this possible. I would like to ask you about memory and transcendence, because memory is always personal. Something is, as in your case with your grandfather, who didn't speak about his experience, and then you made something that transcends your personal memory. What do you think are the most challenging aspect of your work, and the aspect more difficult to achieve or to confront during all these years?
You know, it's 20 years, so it's many confrontation. It can be political confrontations because some country don't want us. So I've been expelled from one country with my team. It can be police problem because some policemen arrive and ask for money or things like that. I would say the first question is that, but the second question is really to accept, to know what people will say. You know, these people are poor. For example, one man, he told me, I have 1,530 Jews in my garden since 42 and nobody came back. You are the first one to come back. And he wanted to say immediately how he saw the German arriving with cars and dogs, gathering all the Jews, lying to them, saying they will send them to Palestine, make him walk to the mass grave. So the biggest challenge is to accept, to know. Because when we began, Marco, me, others, we knew nothing. So we're not ready psychically to accept all these testimonies because the neighbors speak very crudely. They are Soviet also, it's a Soviet structure. So they don't express their feelings, they express the facts like it is. And so the biggest challenge is to accept, to know when they see that you know. By example, when we discovered there were Jewish sex slaves in the Gestapo, in many Gestapo, we didn't know. So the first time it was a shock. after, when the witness know, we know, they say it. They say, oh, father, also there were the girls. And I know what it means. And I say, do you know where they killed the girl? Yeah, we can go to the mass grave of the girl. And as they see that we know, we accept, we say to listen. But it's the same for other genocide. When we were in Guatemala, when we discover the indigenous who have been assassinated in forest, we never forget a woman, she has been raped and she was pregnant 8 months. And her child is completely disabled today. But she spoke because she knew we could listen. We could accept the story and not making, because if you make like that, it's finished. So we don't blink one eye, we don't move, we say, we ask details, because we want really an accumulation of evidence of the crimes committed during Holocaust against Jews and Roma, but after also in Guatemala, because we did the same, or in Iraq, we did the same. So sometimes also it's good to be too free investigator, because sometimes, by example, a lady in Iraq, she wanted to speak 8 hours because she had been sold to many people. And so you cannot stay 8 hours in an interview. So sometimes you make something and after you say, no, it's too much for me, and you bring somebody else.
Did you lose any testimonies on this tension that you didn't have the information? So sometimes your approach was not the right one?
No, we have interviewed 8,000 people. So of course, it's like if you ask a policeman if he was always in a good approach. I am not the only one. You know, we have 5-6 team leaders, young Ukrainian, young Polish. Sometimes we miss, of course, because sometimes also you are not ready. Because, by example, one day we interviewed in Guatemala a guy, he has been tortured. And me, I cannot listen to torture because in my family, the communists were torturing the pro-Hitler. And so it's a family story also. So I give the interview to somebody else. Yes, sometimes we make a mistake. Or when we began the interview with the Yazidi, with the victim of ISIS in Iraq, we, at the beginning, were a team of male. We made a mistake. It needed a woman to be with us because all these girls had been raped. So also, but I would say we have built this special methodology, absolutely not violent, concentrated on the facts, only the facts. What was the color of the car? Can you show me where the car was parked?
Okay.
Who was the translator? The translator was from the village. Do you remember his name? How we could find a translator in the village? Does the translator came also to the killing? Can you show me the place of the killing? It's not there. It's far away. We can walk, etc., etc. Step by step. And after the woman, she said, here they killed Anna. She was young. She has been raped and shot. After they killed the mother, after David, his corpse is here, etc., etc., etc. It's really a rebuilding. So you must really work on yourself, and all my team work on themselves to be able to accept that. Otherwise, you mix your own thinking with the problem, I would say. It's like a policeman in a police station, you know, somebody say, I killed my wife, and the policeman will say, oh, it will be weird. So the person will not speak. So the main challenge is to be poker face and to debrief after with psychoanalysts or with friends, but not with the witness. Don't forget the witness we interviewed were Soviet, so they don't show their feelings because after Hitler, it was Stalin, so they had 70 years of their life under Soviet mentality. So they are very, very practical, and that's it. They never show their feelings.
Professor Dubois, you know that there has been a vast literature on the extermination of Jews in Europe. There's one seminal publication, the one from Raoul Hilberg's, The Destruction of European Jews, a book of more than 1,000 pages, which documents in horrific detail the intentional destruction of the Jewish community in Europe. However, from a fundamental perspective, there are some questions that were not addressed there, or not addressed fully, but were investigated, for example, by Hannah Arendt's famous work on the origins of totalitarianism. I wanted to ask you about that, about what you may call the nature of genocide, what conditions, in your opinion, must be present to encourage the murder of millions of people? In other words, what are the root causes of genocide?
For me, I am a ground person. So the first thing, I will not speak in general. I will speak in a village. First is to find the killers. So the day before, the German receive a phone call from an authority and say, tomorrow you must have 12 men or 10 men ready with their guns, and they drink. Because one day they can be shooters, the second day they can be driver or cooker. When they know they will be shooting, they drink. They have to wake up at 4 o'clock and to drive silently to the village because they never sleep in a village. But before they're digging a mass grave with the local population. And this mass grave must be at the volume of the number of Jews they want to kill. When the Germans arrive in a village, in the night they surrender the Jewish part with machine gun. So the first thing, you cannot make a genocide without neighbors. Anywhere. If the neighbors were Polish, if the neighbors were French, if the neighbors were Ukrainian, you need the neighbors at least to be silent, at least not to do anything against you, or at least to participate to the killing. So they surrender the Jewish part and they say, you will be deported to Palestine. In a genocide, you must lie to the victim until the last moment. Because if the victim are not quiet, you will lose a lot of time. So you have a protocol. Genocide on the ground needs a lot of protocol because you have no train, you have no machine gun, you have only machine gun, pistol, and that's it. After, they say to the Jews, you must make a long line in the middle of the village with your belonging. You are deported. They use the same terminology but the Soviet. Because in Soviet Union, there were a lot of deportation. Most of the Jews, they try to believe it. They take all their belongings in their pocket and they wait. And maybe the counter will count them 5, 6, etc. because they need to make a report. If they find Jews hidden, they will shoot them. And after, an official says direction Palestine. And they walk direction to the train station. But suddenly there is no train station. There is a mass grave. So they sit down. And after they will isolate them 5 per 5, 10 per 10 to shoot them. Why 5 or 10? Because one bullet, one Jew. So to make a genocide, you need people to do it. You need the neighbors. You need the propaganda to say, you are the victim. Jews are the victim. Gypsy are the victim. Not the others. Not the others. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Only the Jews. And after, they shoot the people and they make the burial immediately, even if people are still alive. And after, they will take the belonging, wash them in the night, and sell them by auction, and empty the houses. So in a genocide also, you must manage the economical part. It's a crime. People are killed because killers are anti-Semite, but also because killers like the belongings and like the girls. They are criminals. There are no pure criminals. There are no pure anti-Semite. It doesn't exist in a crime. And so to make a genocide on the ground, you need all that, because even if Mr. Hitler was saying, hey, kill the Jews, if you don't have these people to do that at the end in the village, would be no genocide. So you need the killers, you need the neighbors, and you need the victim to be quiet until the last minute. There is no genocide without a lie. They did the same to the indigenous in Guatemala. They did the same to the Yazidi in Iraq. Exactly the same methodology. There is a methodology of mass killing by hand. And we see that now in Boko Haram in Nigeria. It's exactly the same. The ideology is not the same, but the system of killing is the same. And it took me and my team years and years to understand, because it was strange for us, because the Germans arrive in a village always at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and they leave the village at 5 p.m. and all the Jews are dead. So except the big cities. So it was for me a mystery how they could do that. And in fact, they have a methodology to introduce the neighbors in their system, to use a lot of people in their killing machine, because everything was human. In a genocide like that, it happened in Ukraine, it happened in Belarus, in Russia, in Lithuania, in Estonia, in Romania, in Moldavia. So a full continent of extermination. But in every village, young Germans arriving with their guns and shooting local people until the last baby, and coming back in the night and doing the same thing the day after. So to make a genocide, you need to have your I would say, your people who accept to kill during years and years, nearly every day.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Because what you're saying is that genocide is committed in some way by people that you potentially know, and that's shocking. But there's another question that people just don't start killing each other. So what needs to happen psychologically, maybe, to allow that neighbor to tell that other human being is not really a human being, that other person is devoid of his humanity?
But don't misunderstand. The German, most of the killers were German. They came from Frankfurt, from Munich. The chief of unit had a PhD in law, except one, because Hitler wanted their autonomy. The neighbors are not used to kill. They are used to take the belonging, to wash the belonging, to dig the mass grave, to bring ashes on the blood. Because why? Because the German wanted the belongings. And if the Jews were killed by the neighbors, it happened some places. But very quickly they stopped that because the German wanted all the belongings. And if the neighbors began to kill their neighbors, they will take the belongings, so German will lose everything. So it seemed to be easy. Hitler never missed workers. In Ukraine, in Lithuania, in Estonia, in Russia, never missed. In France, never missed workers. Baghdadi in Iraq never missed workers. When you make a genocide, you propose to young people to be like James Bond, to clean the planet for the bad people. So you target the bad people. You say, as a target, this country are the Jews, the Gypsies, the communists. In Iraq, the target are the Christian and the Yazidi and the Shiite. You can kill them. And in Guatemala, the target are the socialists, the communists, and the indigenous. You can kill them. So you target, and in other say, you target the other to say, you are good. You will be alive. So people say, I am alive. I am chosen by the dictator to be alive. When you do that to somebody, you can ask anything. You can ask anything. And the same neighbor, I will give you a very recent example. It was a child Yazidi that I interviewed. He was 6 years old when ISIS arrived. His neighbor, his friend from school, asked him to play in his house, but he locked the door and he called ISIS and he said, I could catch a Yazidi, 6 years old. So that's human nature. When you make a genocide, the neighbors are changed. And always when I teach to my students, I say, you don't know what will you be. It's easy to speak when you are not in a dictator. When you are under a compression of dictator, the same people who had a normal life suddenly are no more normal. Suddenly they began to participate to the killing machine. And when the dictator is away, they come back to their life. It's finished. Game is over. And so for me, because when I began only for Holocaust, I was saying, bad Polish, bad Ukrainian. But in Iraq, there is no Polish and Ukrainian. It's the same story. And in Guatemala, in indigenous village, there was no Polish. So we must study this human disease who transform, I would say, anybody can be a killer. As I say to people, anybody can be a killer, anybody can be a victim.
How you have said that the Holocaust in ballets is the base for the modern genocides.
Yeah.
Why?
Because today nobody rebuilt in Auschwitz. Actually, when people, if you go, I don't know in Chile, but in Paris, if you ask, or in Madrid, if you ask, what is the first name who comes when you say Holocaust, they will say Auschwitz. They will not even name another camp. But so, and many travelers, when they go to Poland, they visit Auschwitz because they will see the ramp, they will see the train, etc., etc. But when you kill people and you put them in a mass grave, it's very difficult to mention because it doesn't make memory. So, the killers, they integrate that. As I say, the Jews say never again, and the killers say never again in Auschwitz. Baghdadi never did in Auschwitz. The Tutsi, no Auschwitz. Bashar al-Assad killed 500,000, no Auschwitz, no camp, because if he did one camp, The satellite will come, the picture, the photograph, say, there's a genocide. But if you kill 1 million one by one, it doesn't make memory. You know, we had shootings in France, in many places. Don't think that people will remember it long time. But now we begin to remember only one place. And so because normal life is coming back, but imagine if there was a camp in Paris, of course, everybody would visit the camp. But there was no camp. It was a killer who came in a nightclub and was shooting everybody. Another, he came in a kosher shop, he killed everybody. Another, he came in front of a Jewish school, he killed everybody, etc. So what do? Do you go in front of the school? Do you go in the nightclub? No, you cannot. Life comes back and that's it. And so the mass killers today, they learned from Hitler. They learned from Hitler. Hitler is the brand. Me, I travel a lot. You have never to introduce Hitler. People don't know Stalin, they don't know Mao, but they know Hitler. And he's the brand. But they know also Auschwitz. And they know not to repeat this mistake. I mean, you know, one day, an old Polish man was very good man. He told me, Patrick, Hitler made a mistake. I say, which mistake? He told me, he built Auschwitz. And I said, why is it a mistake for you? He says, because Jews are coming back. When they kill them in forest, they never came back.
Wow. Hitler as a brand, it's quite shocking, really. How long it takes Father Dubois to plan a genocide? Is it quite different from the Nazis to the in Guatemala or Darfur? What is?
It's quick. It's always quick because you know that there will be interaction of other countries. So when you decide a genocide, it must be quickly done. The rapidity is always one phase of genocide. When ISIS began to say the approach to the village of the Yazidi, and they announced they will put them in slavery, they will kill the men, they will sell the girls. 2 days after it began. 2 days after it began. You cannot announce a genocide without doing it. And so in Ukraine, officially, the genocide begins in August and they enter in Ukraine in June. But it's not true. They began the genocide 1 day after. Just because we have interviewed people in all the villages of the border, they began to kill immediately. Not all the Jews, but many Jews. A genocide is a human machine. It must be very quick because you can have a political opposition. You can be, other countries will interact. And so it's, you see, the worst was Rwanda in 1 month. In 1 month. The genocide of the Jews was surely the longest because in Ukraine and that they kill people during 3 years every day. 3 years, 4 years, it's a lot. Also, what I see is that you never have an army who comes to stop a genocide. They can stop a war, they can stop terrorism, but we must not dream. No country will send an army to stop a genocide. So that's also something that changed our mind. Until we worked on Holocaust, we didn't see that very well, but now that we work in Iraq with an actual genocide, many army came to fight ISIS, but not to deliver the victims. So that's also very sad because you see after that we have to take responsibility. We have to train young people to say, take responsibility. Don't wait for your president. Don't wait for United Nations. Take responsibility at your level. You have internet. You can advertise what they do. You can confront them. You can send a little bit money to help the survivors, etc. Take a responsibility. Don't ask, don't say what is doing my president, because the mass killers, they don't care. They don't care, and no president will act, I can tell you.
Father Dubois, you mentioned young people, and probably we have some students in our audience today. And in my view, the study of episodes in our human history, such as the Holocaust, seems to be something that every university student, regardless of their career, should know. However, many young people ignore the dimension of the tragedy and the particularities that this event had. So on this, in what way does the study of this type of episodes contribute to the university education? What virtues, cognitive, ethical, or social, are promoted with its knowledge?
It depends the way we teach. I think that for a young, imagine you have a student, he's 18 years old, 20 years old. So Holocaust is not the story of grandpa, but grandpa. And think about your grandpa's story. It's not sure you are completely concerned. Memory stops at grandpa, frequently. And so, me, I understand very well the students have difficulty to swallow the big history, to say, okay, it was far away, far ago, very important. And also you speak about that because the Jews were victims, but that's it. And so you see year after year that, and also the fact that they know very little. But if you begin to tell them that this German working in Auschwitz was God, he was young, he did that and that, that this lady was guard in Auschwitz and she did that and that, and she was trained like that, she was trained like a nurse, she was a doctor, but when in fact she did something else, she began to mistreat people, to kill people. Or this young guy was a normal student in Germany, Christian, evangelical or Catholic, and suddenly became a killer in many villages. Here they begin to be interested, because many students ask, what can I do? What can I do to stop violence? Today, there is no country without violence. You can open the TV in France every morning, you will listen about killing somebody, somebody has been killed by somebody. And so young people are concerned, and most of the students ask, what can I do? And so we have to teach Holocaust to heal the planet and to build the minority will be in action and for responsibility. Otherwise, if we say the genocide is only for policemen, military, and intelligence people, the killers are free. They don't care so much. But if the social society begins to awake and say, what can I do? I see in Guatemala, by example, these killings stayed during many, many years. And majority of the people, they don't know nothing. They never heard about it. They didn't want to know. And nobody told them. It was not in their place. It was not in their village. It was the next village that it happened. And so we have to bring back people slowly to responsibility, because amnesia is so strong about the genocide. And we have to know now that we have not to wait it to be finished. We have to act also when it's acting. So I would say, if you teach that like a crime, you can help students. If you teach the big history, and also to show them the connection and the legacy of Holocaust in the killers of today, if the killers are ultra-right, ultra-left, or Islamists, it's the same. It's the same methodology at the end.
What you're saying is very important, because we are in a scenario where there is a surge of anti-Semitism in Europe and in the United States, in the addition to other trends of racial discrimination. Now, the problem, in my opinion, is extremely complex, because it blends xenophobia and cultural transformation and the role of social media. And in that point, what does history teaches us about our role as citizens in meeting these challenges? Our country is now facing those challenges, because in our country, in Chile, we have seen a surge in xenophobia and in racial discrimination. So what can you tell us about that?
But by example, the museum we have in Guatemala, we have a contract with the Ministry of Education. So most of the students, the children who come to visit, come with their school. Sometimes they come from far away. And they discover that story, they discover that criminal machine will happen in Europe. And at the end of the visit, we have to debrief with them and to say, okay, but at your level, what can you do to make a better Guatemala? But I saw, by example, the fact that Holocaust is taught in Spanish and not in another language. So that's already something. Another thing is to connect with their life. So some children are in complicated part of the city. They know the drug cartel, they know the violence, etc. You cannot tell them, oh, we don't care, you are not Jews, don't speak about that. No, If they connect that, they connect. And so we must really, I would say, heal the society with the teaching, knowing the problem that are the problem with the children or the adults you are speaking to. And another point also is that I see that anti-Semitism is coming also in Central America. When we opened our first teaching online with Marco Gonzalez, we had a lot of attack, of anti-Semite attack in Spanish. People from Central America, we couldn't believe. And somebody put a drawing on our door with a Nazi symbol. So I see also that the anti-Semite is working also in Latin America. Me, you know, I am not good in Spanish, as I explained you. I learned my Spanish in Cusco, in Peru. So it was half holidays, half training Spanish. And suddenly I saw a demonstration against the Jews. I couldn't believe, I say, in Cusco, near Machu Picchu. So there were 700 indigenous and leaders who came outside from the city and say the Jews are coming to enslave you like they enslave the Palestinians. And so I say, I am in Cusco, and these people never saw a Jew. And so it's so easy to turn like that to say, you have a problem? You have a problem? I will tell you who is the key of the problem, the Jews. And so I saw that some groups are spreading that in Latin America like anywhere. It's sometimes perhaps less public, but now that we have a museum in Guatemala, we see it very crudely, I would say. And so I think young people are happy to know and to be awake, but we have only this question at the end, what can I do at my level? If the child is 10, 12 years old or 15 years old or 18 years old, what can he do at his level? And so I think if people can act to change the planet in a better way, knowing what was Holocaust and what was the danger of Holocaust, we are working well. And I'm so happy that Marco developed this teaching as a connection also with you and with Memoria Viva and with the Jewish community of Chile, with all your institutions. I'm so happy because it's the same planet with the same question and the same language also. You know, for example, we made one guide speak from Auschwitz, speaking Spanish. People were suddenly listening to somebody in Spanish, but from Auschwitz. And so we are only one planet, but the same disease is everywhere. It's also anti-Semitism, it's xenophobia, racism. It's the same disease. And it's so easy for political groups to have this strategy to put the fire, I would say, so easy. And also we have to train young people, because on the other side, they train young people. The Islamists who kill themselves, they're all young. The ultra-right in USA, most of them are young in the demonstration. And so we have to train young generation in front and to say, you have to stand strongly. But I'm very, very proud to be in connection with you. You are part of this huge continent. And I discovered that because I travel a lot, of course, in Latin America. And I saw also the problem, like in Argentina also is the same.
So the medicine for this disease is responsibility and education, I imagine, right?
Yeah. Yeah, call to responsibility. Never say, you know, me, I speak sometimes to people who are Christian. And so, I say, okay, but beginning of the Bible, Cain is killing Abel. The first brother is killing his brother. What is the question of God is, where is your brother? Where is Abel? And so, it doesn't, I said, when I finish a conference, I say, you will all die. And God will not ask you, what did your president? He will not ask you, what did the United Nations? He will ask you, what did you do yourself? And so we have to awake people to responsibility today and to say, at your level, you can do something. For example, with Marco, we made a seminar in a small college in a poor city of America. And the students didn't know what to do, but we say, we have in your city many refugees from Rwanda, from Latin America, from Afghanistan. And they went in this family to make interview, and suddenly they discovered they had the victims not far away. And so for the students, it was opening eyes experience. So I think to make people in responsibility about what happened in their country, sometimes not far, is very important.
So how do you relate all of these with the social platforms and with fake news and all the new ideologies that are going everywhere, all over the world? How we do it with this?
That's true. We must not dream. We must take our place. For example, we have an interactive map where all the killing points are accessible. You have a piece of archive. I think to make access to the primary sources, not tell them only read books or see fictions, but look at this archive, look at this neighbor testimony, look at this survivor testimony, and make your mind what happened in that village. So for me, I always say, you see this piece of archive. Do you think this picture is real or is propaganda? How do you know there are Jews on the picture, etc.? I don't answer in their place. So it's a way of training young generation, I would say, to be like investigating themselves. But I don't dream. We must train a minority of fighters. Because on the other side, they train minority of fighters in the bad way. So if you have minority of leaders, they will drive people with them. If you have no leader tomorrow, you will have leaders on the bad way. The people who are actually acting as anti-Semite or racist or that, they prepare new leaders. So if we don't prepare that on the other side, one day it will be empty field. Don't dream. It's not only memory of the past, it's fighting for a better present in your country, in your continent, in your language. And people have to actually have the sense that, oh no, I am with my telephone all the day, etc. I don't care. And if there is a problem, it's a mistake of the president. Okay, but for violence, daily violence, it's not always a problem of the president. I say that because I was in America, you know, I opened the TV, it was day and night, Mr. Trump. After I came to Paris, day and night, Mr. Macron. So you go to Germany, day and night, Mrs. Merkel. And everybody says, she is a bad woman, she makes the problem. Macron is the bad guy, you know. Trump is awful, etc. But okay, now Trump is no more here. Where is the solution?
Father Roy, I want to take you in a slightly different subject. Your work is fundamentally situated in history. In this country, in Chile, history and the humanities have had a sustained setback in recent years, both at the level of school and university education. However, the role that the humanities and history can play in a modern society is not always obvious. So I want to ask you, how important is for you the study of the humanities, and what do you gain by entering into that area?
The problem is that actually there is a coming back. You know, we were thinking we were in a mondial planet. I am in Paris. Marco is also in Paris. You are in Chile. We can communicate. So, okay, we are in one planet. But in fact, there is a coming back like a tribal society. No, me, I am first black and from this country. No, me, I am yellow from this country. No, me, I am from this tribe, etc., etc. We come back to a tribal society. And so history, for many people say, no, I am not from the big history. I have the history of my tribe, of my group. And so we are confronted today in one way, in a lack of knowledge of the global history of the nation where people are living. People don't care. They care about their affair. And so it's pretty dangerous because any dictator can come back and begin to say to us, there is only one book about history. I cannot name some people I know as dictator because I don't want to lose my visas. And so in some countries, there is only one book now about history, only one official history. And so we see that coming back very strongly in many countries. And it's dangerous because people have no sense about what happened. They consummate the daily life. they enjoy the life, and they live in a society who has been designed by the power, in fact, with no critic. And so we know how it can end. We know that fascism, what they did. We know also with Soviet system what they did. So Islamist system today, what we are doing. So me, I travel a lot. Today actually I'm in France. If I listen to the TV, it will be epidemic, vaccination, and Mr. Macron. Tomorrow I will be in Ukraine. It will be President of Ukraine, Putin, and the war at the border. And if I go to Iraq, it will be Iraq and Iraq and Iraq. And so, and I don't know Chile, but when I'm in Guatemala, I see also a lot of news about Guatemala. And so we have to open leaders to have a global vision, I would say, with critical point of view, but it's difficult today. It's much more difficult than 10 years before.
I hope it will be so difficult in 20 years. Let's dream. But I think this is the last question, and Guido gave me the honor to make it. Yesterday I was thinking about, and this is like a kind of personal question, how your faith has been challenged during all this year of work in the field, knowing people that killed or was there. So how have been your relationship with God?
I know always people ask me this question. And first, I am not the only one as Christian in my team. Marco is Christian, is not Catholic. We are a few Christian in the leadership of Yarad. I would say my faith has always been a fighting. And my grandma was, on my mother's side, was very, very religious, never missing a mass, never missing a prayer. But when the war began, she was hosting refugees from everywhere. We could never know if she was hosting Jews or not. And the German came to burn the house, and she could throw them away, etc., etc. And we always saw no faith without action against evil. And it's a permanent fight and permanent life like that. It's not easy. It's not easy because you cannot dream. It's not comfortable because when you have finished a challenge, there is another one who is coming. But I don't imagine the faith without fighting. And me, of course, I studied a lot. I studied theology. I was teaching theology, but I hate to make theology about genocide. I hate too much speaking about God because God is first a question. And I know so many people who lost the faith in the period of genocide, waiting something and nothing happened. So, but what changed also is that the fact that we work in Iraq and now that we are healing 200 children in our centers to find back life with psychologues, with nannies, with helpers, the fact that we help these women who have been sold, it gives also another dimension to our fight. It is also a fight against evil, but also healing about the victim of today. So, but you are right. You are surely a lot of question about God when you do that. I don't work so much on my question because I have so many questions about also human beings. Mm-hmm. You could ask me, what did you discover about human beings? And I could speak to you about 1 hour. Because my perception of humanity now and 20 years before is absolutely not the same. When I saw all the neighbors coming to watch in every city, the school were closed the day of the shooting of the Jews, so the children could go and sit down around and watch and stay all the day seeing the shootings. And sometimes it was a lesson the day after in the school. And in Iraq, the same, all the neighbors, closing the doors, closing the roads so that the Yazidi could not escape. And in Guatemala, people in the city of Guatemala living quietly, and just kilometers after began the problem with indigenous. So this capacity of human beings to bear a mass crime where they are not victims, for me, it was surely the biggest surprise. and the biggest difficulty to accept, and until now. It's why it's so difficult. It's why to teach against a genocide, I believe only to awake a minority. I don't believe in majority. Majority of people want to sleep well. And I always say, if you don't sleep well, you can work with us. If you sleep well, forget it.
Thank you.
Professor Dubois, your testimony and your reflection was extremely interesting and profound. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning in France. So we will stop our conversation here, and we will take, if you can, a few questions from our audience. Alejandra Nudman asks, what do you do when you find the mass graves? Is there any ritual involved?
No, because I'm Catholic, so we don't make any ritual. What we take the GPS, we take a lot of pictures. So it's our interactive map that you can find on our website of Yara de Nunum, but we don't mark it because people will open it to look for gold teeth. And so, but actually we want to develop a program to protect the mass graves. The mass graves we are in not in good places. For example, there is a big place in one village where they killed 54,000 people and nobody cares. It's a Vallon. And so we want to protect these places and to sanctify them and also to teach around. But it must be well protected, otherwise people will come with a spade to look for gold teeth. I can tell you. It's a complex question.
There is another question from Jose Angel del Valle, who is writing us from Guatemala. And he's asking, would you say that hate is the necessary origin for genocide?
Yes, but not alone. It must be also the appetite for killing. It seems to be a joy to be killing people, and also to be stealing. Some people have been killed because they took the belongings, and to rape the girls. It's a triangle. Hate, appetite for belongings, appetite also for rape. You cannot make a genocide with only hate. Because you can hate your neighbor and never kill him. I am sure you hate people, but sometimes people say, I hate my mother-in-law, but I will never kill her. And so, but it's something else that suddenly you say you can kill all the Jews or all the blacks or all the gypsies. It's something else. But there is no killing without the belongings. The stealing of the belonging is so important. And the motivation are mixed.
There's another question from Benjamin Eppelbaum, who is a student at the Universidad del Desarrollo. He's asking two questions, and I'm going to ask you only one to give time for more questions from other people in the audience. He's asking, what is your motivation to do talks about Showa in universities?
I think it's inside university that you become an adult. You have time to study normally when you're not the virus, of course. You have the time to meet other students, to speak, to make your point of view, to confront to politics, to make your choice, to fall in love, to make projects, to travel. And it's a crucial time. And in this time, if you have the opportunity to know where is the root of these killings that we see every day in the TV, one time a bomb in Afghanistan, the second day in Baghdad, the third day a shooting in Guatemala, the other day in Mexico, etc., and in America. And so for me, it's the best place in the planet to work. It's inside university. Because it's here that people awake to their life and suddenly say, hey, I don't want to be only a banker. No, I don't want only to marry, buy a house, have a beautiful dog, and that's it. No, I want to make something in my life to heal the planet. And I see many of my students, I would say a third of my students change their life. They enter in either in FBI or sometime in NGO or in Jewish organization because they want to do something. They don't want to make only money. And so I think there is an appetite in a part of the student to do something with their life and not only to make an easy life.
I think we have time for two more questions. The first one is from Cesar Müller, and he asks, what role do moments or places of memory play? Are these objects really important in public space to overcome or avoid similar situations in the future?
What do you mean, place of memory?
Yeah, he doesn't say that. Well, there are notable examples in Europe, Berlin, the Jewish Museum, monuments for the murdered Jews of Europe, etc.
I'd say a monument does nothing by itself. One day I was with my students in Chisinau in Moldavia. There is a beautiful monument of the ghetto, but I say, do you see anybody looking at this monument? Nobody. So when you have a place, protect the place, but after you have to train people and to make a real memory around by teaching, by training, etc. You have to build the memory around, because a monument doesn't build memory by itself. So it depends what you are doing around. It's a call for responsibility. But if you have no place of memory, it's amnesia by evidence. If there was no, imagine in Auschwitz, if they didn't keep the camp and they put animals in the stable and sold it, who could come? Nobody. So in a few days, for example, when we opened the museum in Guatemala, people ask, why to make a museum in Guatemala? Why not in America? And I say to people, if I build the second museum in Paris, you will say, oh, bravo, Fabre de Bois, to build the second museum in Paris. And even a third one. And so people don't realize that we have to care for the planet anywhere. And Chile, you know it very well, because you had also a complex history. And we could ask you the same question. Why do you teach Holocaust in Chile? Was so many other questions to confront. And I think if you have succeeded to do that, it's because you feel it's important for Chile. And you said, Karen, that you dream to teach outside of Chile and more widely in Spanish. You have the same vision than us. And because me, I see, I will not name, but one of the biggest museum in the planet, we have no speaker in Spanish in America, in this museum. So it's a little bit weird when you see how many Latinos you are in North America today. And so I see that university, and our enemies see it, because the trainers of ultra-right or radical Muslim or etc., they train also people in university.
But the poor people doesn't go to the university.
Yeah, but I cannot do everything. We are working in poor municipality actually in France to confront the rise of Islamism and hate and so on and so on. It's another work. We are training, for example, we have been asked to train the policemen or the social educators because we have a lot, as you know, there is a lot of hate actually in my country. And so, and it's not easy to confront radical Muslims with anything. So we have to, we are working also in that direction. It depends the challenge, but you are right. You're right. But with the museum, we are touching very poor people, I would say, from any school. Sometimes schools are coming by bus, and the first thing that they need is to eat, because they have 5 hours of bus before arriving to the museum. And so, but universities, we must not let it empty, because it will not be empty. Because it's here that you prepare the leaders of the country.
This is the final question. Galia Lena Bogolaski.
I need to say thank you to all of you, but I have my small list and I will not forget anybody. I want to thank you first to Karen Kodner, Directora de Memoria Viva. You are great, and I'm very impressed with what you do. I want to say thank you to Guido Larsson, Director del Instituto de Humanidades de la Universidad del Desarrollo. I want to say thank you to my dear director, Marco Gonzalez, Director do Yaradinum, who made this conference possible. To salute also Angel Del Valle, Director of the Museo del Holocausto in Guatemala, and to say hello, I would say, to all the Jewish community of Chile, but also I would dare all the people of Chile, because it's a country that you are reaching. And Marco, I know, is listening to this conference. We are very, very proud to be in contact with you from Chile. We follow you. You know, our French are near from Chile. We follow your story since many, many years when it was up and down. And I'm very proud, and I would be very happy one day to see you in Chile.
Well, Chileans are participating and listening, and that's a very big hit for everybody. The last final question, if you don't mind, Father Dubois, Galia Elena Bogolaski is asking, there are few Holocaust survivors alive. What do you think will happen when there are no survivors left?
It will be critical. It will be critical because until today, deniers cannot too much jump in the media because a survivor will say, come on, I was in Auschwitz, so I was in another camp. But the day will be no more survivor. I'm afraid the deniers will demultiply. It's why we have to prepare. We have to prepare before to train young people who know exactly these crimes, who did what. Who did what? Even if you take Auschwitz, who was working near the gas chamber? Which German? Where he came from? Was he judged? Never judged? How old was he? Why he has been put in this place, etc., etc. And we have to train people with that because it will be a complicated problem. You know, when I saw Elie Wiesel dying in America, it was a page turning in all America. And so we have to be ready to anticipate. Our enemies, don't forget, anticipate. We are not alone. What must motivate us is that you have people on the other side who are making the same Zoom, but against us. So if we are think about that, we will stand. If we only enjoy the life, more dangerous. But I'm very, very happy to have this conversation, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you so much. And with that message, we will leave it at here. Thank you so much, Professor Dubois, for being with us, for listening to you, for your words and reflection. And I know that it will be commented in our community for the next few weeks. Thank you also, Karen, for being here with me, for your insightful questions. And I hope that we can work together soon. Thank you also for audience and for the patience with us. And I hope that the next activities that are programmed from our university and the Instituto de Humanidades that I direct will be attended with.
Anything you need from us, material online in Spanish or that, testimonies from Iraq or from Guatemala or from Holocaust by bullets is accessible. As I said to Karen, we didn't make a private collection, and I'm so proud to serve the Latinos. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And have a good night.
Merci.